Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. This is Blood Phantom 81. Today I'm bringing you a very special video because I came across this Reddit post and I think it's actually really interesting. So the topic of this post is, how is technical analysis not ridiculed for the BS that it is? So obviously this person feels very lightly about technical analysis. By the way, so this is the investing subreddit, and I'm actually banned from this subreddit. That's right, I cannot comment on this subreddit. If I type like "I am banned" and I try to post that, it says there's an error, and that's because your boy is always spitting the truth, and some people don't like to hear the truth. So it happens. But anyway, so the description of this post is was watching CNBC, and they had a squad of technicians in quotation marks constantly on air making squiggly lines, rambling about support, resistance with two S's, head and shoulders. How did this nonsense ever become a legit? Who the hell buys companies based on crap like this? Oh yeah, this stock has a bald eagle with a cigarette in its mouth. Cigarette with an S. This person loves S's. Pattern. It's a screaming buy, and it's without a apostrophe as well. So besides grilling this guy for his grammar, I think it's a very fair point, actually. A lot of people out there are pretty curious, and curious is putting it lightly. A lot of people out there don't think that technical analysis has any validity whatsoever. And obviously, I'm going to come from a biased place because I make money using technical analysis. But let's try to keep an open mind about this and just get on with the rest of this post because I think there's a lot of really good nuggets in here. The first comment says, if enough traders and algos trade on TA, it basically becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Many times you see stocks hit support and bounce, or hit resistances and go down. This is because many trading algos and traders use TA to trade stocks. If you aren't a trader, then TA does not matter to you. Just because you don't understand how TA works doesn't mean it's BS. So I think my favorite part of this comment is not the meat of it or the point that he was trying to make, but it's actually the last sentence, which is, just because you don't understand how TA works doesn't mean it's BS. And everything this person said prior, which is like technical analysis becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, I think is one way for people to justify what technical analysis is and why it works, quotes sometimes. And so this is basically like the most common sense approach, which is like, okay, this moving average makes sense, and this has some significance because there's a lot of algorithms that basically use moving averages to trade, which I think is completely valid. I mean, I think at any given time, we honestly aren't aware at how much volume is being passed by algorithms or trading algorithms or something that's basically either learning on its own or just not completely made by by human decision. So I completely agree with the first, with the idea here, but it's not really my favorite explanation of this because I think there's more to technical analysis than that. So I don't think it's a self-fulfilling prophecy necessarily, though I do think that this answer is not completely wrong in my honest opinion. So my favorite comment in this entire post is what Sir Glass said, which is the second comment. He said, yes, this is what Keynes talked about. He essentially said that human behavior is just as important or more than actual fundamental analysis. Like when talking about bubbles, it's not fully irrationally to buy a stock worth $4 for $40 if you can sell it for $50 next week, which I think is totally true. I think stock markets are driven by sentiment and emotions, and basically, those things are on the cornerstones of human behavior because humans by default are greedy creatures. We want to make money. So I think we put our money into the stock market because we want to make money, not because we think these companies are good companies. And I know what I just said sounds a little bit counterintuitive and sounds a little bit confusing, but the motivation behind investing is because of greed and because of our desire to create more wealth. That being our biggest motivation, I honestly think that we're also going to react to things, especially like prices dropping, And some of the biggest motivations behind selling is also going to be greed. Obviously, I think these are emotions that can be controlled, and usually the best investors and the best traders can control their emotions. But absolutely, I think this is a very emotional market, and it's not a market that completely acts on logic. Then the second person said, he's the poopiest of butts, responded with, except you need to know the future to know you can sell next week for 50. You're essentially gambling, which is fine, but don't kid yourself. And then this other person responded with a really nice comment. He said, buying any stock is speculating or on the future of it, using data from the past as your guide, which is exactly true. Even things like value investing, though we don't consider that to be speculating, and honestly, in the grand scheme of things, the only reason why I would say it's speculating is I'm just talking big picture. I'm not talking about in the the Benjamin Graham sense where you're not supposed to speculate and you're supposed to go after value investing. I'm not saying that value investing equals speculate, but we're hoping that prices will meet our expectation based on some research that we've done. And that research can be fundamental or it can be technical. Either way, closer to a textbook definition of speculating, I think most of investing is speculating because there is no certainty with investing. And then my second favorite comment, actually, this may be my favorite comment, I lied. My favorite comment is by Engine Nerd 03. He said, you have the causation backwards. The model work because of human behavioral biases, which is exactly what I think technical analysis is. I think technical analysis is an attempt to understand human sentiment and behavior, which is what I think drives markets. And that's my best textbook, explanation of why I think technical analysis works and what it is. So this person, in one sentence or two sentences, basically nailed it on the head, in my opinion. And then the last comment I want to get to is basically this guy right here, which is like, there's some people on Reddit that like take all your sentences and like try to contradict you and whatnot. This person said, if enough traders and algos trade on TA, it basically becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. There is no evidence that this is the case, which I totally agree. That's why I didn't fully agree with the first comment, but I still liked the idea of it. And then this next part I think is super interesting. He said, many times you see stocks hit support and bounce, or hit resistances and go down. So basically he's quoting what the first person said. And then his response was, and many times you don't. And what he's arguing here is basically the idea that it's kind of a meme, which is, okay, sometimes this thing works and sometimes it doesn't. So like, can you really trust technical analysis? And I think that's the direction that he's headed in. But look, that's completely true. Sometimes stocks hit support and bounce, or they hit resistances and go down, or sometimes they don't. So even that being the case, there's still ways to make money off of technical analysis because you can create trades, you can create your stop losses right at resistance or right at support, or you can create some buy orders right at resistance or right at support. Generally, price can fluctuate or act kind of odd around certain price areas. And so given all that information, I still think it's possible to make money off of having support and resistance areas. And then this next comment is, this is because many trading algos and traders use TA to trade stocks, which is like 1,000% true. There's a lot of hedge funds that use just algorithms. And even more than we think, okay, we associate some really big hedge fund names with people that are value investors. Doesn't mean that they don't use technical analysis to at least price in their trades. There's a book called Market Wizards, which basically interviews some of the best traders in the world. And these guys, own lots of hedge funds. A lot of them use technical analysis, at the very least, to time their trades a little bit better. This person's arguing that the reason why people think that some patterns work is because all we're doing is seeing random patterns and assigning a story where there isn't one, which I think is another really popular criticism with technical analysis because, there's a lot of people calling out patterns, head and shoulders pattern, inverse head and shoulders pattern, cup and handle, inverse cup and handle, all that type of stuff. And it just sounds so bizarre. And it really does, for someone who hasn't really used technical analysis, it can really sound like palm reading or like astrology. So, and by the way, astrology is different than astronomy. I'm talking about the type of people that, say that, oh, just because you're a Pisces, you're going to have a certain personality trait. Like it feels like fairy dust, which I think, from an outsider perspective, I can totally see why. The thing with patterns, in my opinion, and this is just my humble opinion, that I don't know how everything works, but the thing with patterns that I like is they basically describe what's going on over a certain time period. And generally, they can tell a story of whether demand is increasing or decreasing, or if buyers are putting up a fight at a certain support level. I like to keep it pretty simple. I don't get too crazy with it, but that's basically my explanation. And then this person summarizes it by saying, I understand how TA works. I did it for several years and made a bunch of money. First of all, when someone says they did something for a bunch and they made a whole bunch of money, but they don't use it anymore, I don't know, it's a little bit questionable. And they finish by saying, the market was going up and everyone made a bunch of money, and it's BS. So, yeah, I think what this person's saying is like so TA, if you say that TA is the reason for why you make money in a bullish market, then it gives you more credence to say that TA works. And I think this person is arguing that that's a fallacy, which I think is totally true as well. But I think really good technical analysis can navigate you, whether you're in a bull market or a sideways market or a downwards market. It's really just about putting clues together and trying to navigate, what's going on. And the last thing I want to say is what Sharks fan said, which is a very, very logical, I guess, approach to everything. I think this is a really good way to end this video, actually. This person cites, if enough traders and algos trade on TA, it basically becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. What they responded with was pretty much this, but it only tends to work in the short term and therefore is mostly only used for trading. The best way I've heard it put is that fundamental analysis is used to determine which companies to buy, and technical analysis helps determine when and at what price to sell. I think that's a really solid summary and explanation. And even though I think technical analysis can be used for longer term investments, which is, you know, a little bit similar to what I do. I mean, I do put together fundamental and technical sometimes, but I'm really leaning more on the technical side. Either way, I think this is a very good way to bridge the gap and kind of marry the two. So I think that's a really good positive way to end this video. So yeah, that's basically wrapping it up. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think that technical analysis is BS? What do you use it for, if you use it at all? Let me know in the comments below, and I'm very curious to hear your opinions. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.